Hello, everyone. We are so excited today for the amazing conversation that we are going to have with an amazing guest that we have in our studio. And at this moment, I'd like her to introduce herself. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for having me, honey. I am Chrysalis Nyingi, and I am a intuitive guidance coach. I help women to stop self-sabotage and to stop gaslighting themselves by helping them align themselves and their lives with their mind, body, and spirit.
Wow. I would like to start by asking you what inspired you to do that amazing work that you're doing and why did you choose it?
Well, honey, my life inspired me to. It was really hectic, and like a lot of women, I felt really overwhelmed and burned out. I was a businesswoman, a wife, and a mom of two boys that have too much energy. And so I found myself being successful in my business, but really failing, in my opinion, at home. My
Mm-hmm.
marriage was failing and on the rocks. My children were having behavior issues. And although in my work, my clients were doing great, they were thriving, I wasn't. And I began to pay attention to the patterns that I was noticing in my body and in women. Like we work so hard, we achieve so much, but our bodies are different than men. And in this patriarchal society, there's no space for the things that we go through every single month. And from the chaos of my life, I began to be like, something has to change. And so I began to pay attention to my cycle and all of the messages that it told me, it taught me. And I began to notice that mentally, I began to be better. Spiritually, I was better. My family was receiving me better. And I just began to come up with different tools that could help them to understand who I am as a human before my titles.
You talked about how we go through a lot every month, and that's really true. And most of the time, when we talk about, uh, for example, menstruation, we talk about menstrual cycle. We talk about it like only one component, and it has different phases. Can you go through all of them and how they affect us?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll give you the science and the nerdy part first, and then I will go into the way that I like to tell it to people because it's a complex thing that even that what I'm finding is that a lot of women don't even understand what's happening in their bodies. And so if we don't understand, our families won't understand, right? So you have your menstrual phase, right? That's the one that everyone talks about. It's your bleed, and it's when your uterine lining is shedding itself, and that's your cleansing phase, right? Your body is cleansing, and then right after you have the follicular phase.
That's the first
Yes.
phase.
So day one of your cycle, when you start to bleed, that's day one, and that's the menstrual phase. That's when you bleed. And then you have your follicular phase. So that is when those follicles in your uterus, they are mature. They're most mature, right? And they are in preparation for a baby to release an egg, right? They're preparing to release an egg. Then you have your ovulation phase, and that's when your body has released the egg. Okay. And then right after that is your luteal phase. That's the phase that gives all of us the trouble, right? And during that phase, your body is preparing for a baby. And if you don't get pregnant, then the hormones drop drastically towards the end, right? And so the analogy I like to use is a forest. I know in Rhonda, we don't have all four seasons. You don't have the winter, summer, spring, and fall, but you can imagine that you travel, right? And so in America, we have summer, fall, winter, spring, and these same things happen in our bodies, right? So we'll start with summer. Summer is what I call your ovulation phase. Okay. And so if you stand in a forest in the middle of summer, you have leaves everywhere. You can't see through the forest, right? There's leaves, there's greenery, you have your deer, all of the animals and the wildlife are so active. There's a lot of life going on. It's vibrant. And then as the fall comes, you notice that the animals start to slow down. They start to bury food. They start to prepare themselves for scarcity. The leaves start to change colors. They begin to fall off the trees. Everything is preparing for a restful season. And then you have your winter. right? In the winter, all of the trees are naked. You can see straight through the forest. You can hear a pin drop. It's so quiet, right? You can hear if animals are crawling on the forest floor, you can hear the twigs cracking. Everything is noticeable. And then you have your spring where everything starts to sprout and everything comes back to life. And so it's the same way for women, right? So if we think about our summer, our ovulation phase, that's
maybe let's start with for example, you said the first phase is menstruation. So menstruation is now compared to which season?
winter.
Winter.
So we can start there in winter. So if we are thinking about the emptiness in the forest, how loud everything is, even though it's quiet, our nervous systems are the exact same. Our bodies are so sensitive, and things that typically don't bother you, they bother you during this phase because everything is louder, right? If you think about that forest, everything is clear. So you can experience the same things, that employee that you work with or that place that you go to, that the people are so loud or they maybe aren't the most positive. You can deal with it in the other phases, but in your winter,
but not
it's
that
like,
one.
baby, look, not today. Okay. You have less patience because your nervous system is so heightened. Okay. And then you move on to spring, right? Your energy starts to come back. You start to feel like a normal person again.
And spring is now
Spring is your follicular phase, right? So right after. And you start to have more energy. You have more creative ideas. You're like, I want to go out and I want to do things in the world. And then your summers when you ovulate, right? And so just constantly thinking about the forest that we spoke about. In the summer, everything is vibrant. You're like, I want to host all the meetings. I want to host parties. I want to go here. I want to be seen. You feel magnetic during that phase. And then your luteal phase is that fall season, is when you prepare for rest. Your body prepares to rest and recover. Your body needs more silence, more stillness, and it starts to conserve energy.
Yeah, and among those four seasons, the one that is harsh to our bodies
Is the fall.
is the fall, the menstruation.
No, the fall is your luteal phase. That's the one where you have the PMS, where everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, you're so moody."
But why do we have that? What is happening? Yeah.
So
in our bodies.
I brought this chart to kind of show you, right? So this is so important in my rhythm circles I have where women come and we discuss our cycles together. I give this to them because you have to tell your families. They have to see the science that's actually happening here. And so in your winter, that is your menstrual phase. That's when you bleed. During this time, your progesterone and your estrogen, they are both at their lowest. Okay. So you have very little energy. Okay. And then you move on over into the rest of the seasons. Now, in the luteal phase specifically, the reason why we have so many symptoms and everything is because progesterone is the ruler of your luteal phase. Progesterone is higher, and progesterone is designed to slow your body down, but we don't slow down. And so if you do slow down, you won't experience so many symptoms, right? But we don't slow down, and it causes us to feel irritable. It causes us to spike cortisol in our bodies. And it's another hormone. It's the stress hormone. And so when cortisol is high, your digestion slows down. So we deal with the bloating. We deal with all of the cramps and the pain because your body is constricting, right? When cortisol is spiking, you're more irritable. You feel more anxious. And so all of the symptoms that we experience during that time are a result of the progesterone and us ignoring this signal that our body is sending us to slow down.
I see. So now I wonder, how can our lifestyle, our diet, our stress level, our sleep schedules can lead us to a healthier cycle.
Yes.
How can we do it?
So I have this that I actually give as well, and it has a list of different things that you can do. But specifically, magnesium is the one that I found that affects women the most. Right. So during your spring, okay, so that is your follicular phase, right? So during the follicular phase and the luteal phase, during those times is when you need the most magnesium. And so if your body is asking for nutrients, is there certain nutrients in food that support each hormone in each phase, right? And so women need to be educated on which foods that we need to eat. You need to eat more iron in your spring your follicular phase and your luteal phase. You need more iron then to support the hormones that are active in the body, they're present in the body. You need more magnesium during those times because your body needs to relax. You don't need more stress, right? And so magnesium helps your body to reduce the cortisol and support the progesterone that's in the body. So eating different things like spinach, beef, if it's a clean cut of beef, right? Those things help you with iron and help your body to feel more energized and support the oxygen in the blood. So we do need to eat specifically according to our cycles. And I teach that, I give that so that women know, like, eat these things during these phases. You need this much rest during these phases, right? And educating us about how much to put on our schedules is important as well, but I'm sure we'll get into that eventually.
Yeah. Talking about the schedules, you can understand, like, most of women who are career, uh, 8 to 5 jobs. Like, how can we be able to work not against our bodies, even though we are still working in the settings like that?
Yes. So I like to tell people that bosses need boundaries, right? And so if you are a woman who is working, whether you're an entrepreneur or you work a 9 to 5, boundaries are so important. And the way that you implement them, so this tool that I brought here is a chart. I say start with the family, right? So it has all 4 seasons, and you put it on your refrigerator or wherever you want to place it in your home, and it tells your family where you are in your cycle and the things that you need to support you in that cycle, right? So you have to have boundaries with your children, right? During these times, mommy needs more rest. So these are activities that we can do. We can paint, or we can do things like dance to music or do soft, gentle things. And in my seasons where I have more energy, we can do more fun, active things, right? You have to be very specific about, hey, when my door is closed, that means that mommy is resting, right? And so if you have a system that tells your husband, your partner, whatever, whoever you live with, those that you live with, exactly where you are in your cycle and exactly what you need to support you during that space, they no longer have to guess about it, right? This becomes your boundary. And so having those boundaries is so important at home. But then when you move into the workspace, right, you have to have boundaries about how much you can take on. And that's the scary part for a lot of people is, hey, this is my boss. Like, how do I tell my boss that I need these specific things? Well, you let them know that, hey, during this part of my cycle, my high energy parts of my cycle, this is when I'll take on the bulk of the projects, right? And then in those lower phases, that's when you do the small catch-up thing, the busy work, the little things that don't take a lot from you. So I like to tell women that you start with those boundaries at home. And when you have a supportive home space, it empowers you so that now, if something comes up during those restful times in your cycle at work, it doesn't feel like another disaster, right? Everything is smooth. Does that make sense?
It does. But I want to dive deeper in that. Like, okay, share with us your experience with that chart where you informed your family, when I'm in this cycle, this is what I need, this is how I feel. The first day that you tried it, how was it? How did you start that conversation in the first place?
Oh, girl. Oh, my gosh. So my babies were a little bit younger then. Right now they are 9 and 5. So at that time they were probably about 3 and 7. Okay. When I first introduced this. And initially, honey, what boundaries? Okay. The door means nothing. I'm opening it and I'm coming in because I need you right now. Right. And it took my husband actually supporting me and helping me with them. But even with him, I had to, like, hey, this is exactly what's going to happen, babe. I need this because of this. And so the science, which is why I give that initial chart that I showed you, the science helped them to help it to become a real thing for them and not just this, oh, you're being lazy. Oh, you have excuses. You know, like you hear those things like, oh, you're just being lazy or you're being moody, and they blame it on all of these things that have a negative connotation to them. But in reality, there is science that is happening in my body. And so I started off with the science part with my husband to get him on board so that he helped me to maintain the boundaries with the children. But initially it was really hard. And after about 2 cycles, they started to use the language that I was using. Like, oh, mommy's in her spring. So I would just announce. I would have it on the, have the chart on the fridge, and then I had a magnet. I'm now in my spring. Yes, it's spring. We get to do fun things, So like they now look forward to, exactly. And then when I'm in my winter, my youngest one, I have a video that I posted on my Instagram, and I told him, mommy's in winter, babe. And I'm just sitting there. He just comes around and he starts massaging my shoulders because he sees my husband do it. Yes. So once they begin to see that you respect the boundaries that you set in place, they start to respect them.
Yeah. So it's like you update every week.
Yes. I just move it, and that's all I have to do now. Initially, you have to do more explaining, more reinforcing, especially if you have children, but with adults too as well, because it's a change. It's a shift. They're used to us overextending ourselves. They're used to us not having boundaries. They're used to us trying to keep up with men, right? Because the thing is, men have 10 to 20 times more testosterone than we have in our bodies, and they go through a daily cycle. So men, their testosterone peaks at the beginning of the day. They're ready to go. And then at the end of the day, they're ready to rest. Their testosterone, it relaxes, calms down. But by the next day, they're full again. They have a full tank, and they can go, which is why men, our society is built around men, right? They can go and they can do and they can work, and it fuels them. It makes them feel strong and good. But for us, our cycle is 28 to 30 days. Yeah. And our testosterone doesn't reach the levels that theirs does, right? And so we try to keep up with them, and we end up in burnout. We end up having things like endometriosis and fibroids and PCOS and high blood pressure and all these migraines. We have these things because we are trying to keep up with the cycle that men are on instead of honoring the divinity of our personal cycles.
Yeah. This is very deep and very informative. I hope the people who are following us are going to learn different things that they can learn. I want to understand your take on when it comes to women empowerment. There is a way. There is it was a journey for us to be where we are and where we are looking forward to head. But there are certain people who think when it comes to our body and cycles, it's a weakness that can stop us to do certain work. And when it comes to the science behind menstrual cycle, they can use it to sometimes to prove how women, they are not like they are not full of potential, or be able to, how can I say, maybe to lead the countries, lead the ministries. What do you think about that?
So it's a very dynamic question for me, because I think that the people who do believe those things are people who don't understand the value that women bring. Because we live in a patriarchal society, power has been equated to the male, right? But we haven't, as a society, even as women, we haven't taken the time to honor our bodies to see how powerful we can be while honoring our bodies. Because from my experience, I'm able to do more now. I'm able to create better. I'm able to see clearly, because as an intuitive woman, as a woman, our intuition is our power. Yes. And so we are able to see things before they happen. We're able to be the clarity in the eyes for our families. We're able to hear those messages from spirit when we are in our luteal phase, when our bodies are more sensitive, just like animals, right? If you watch a deer or a lion, they hear something twitch and they pause and they examine and they move, right? They move. And that's the same power that women have. And once we get in alignment with our cycles, once we begin to honor our rhythms, we are able to be so productive in that short amount of time that it's not even noticeable that we're not, it's not a comparison. I'm able to do things super fast during that time because I'm so lit up. I'm so magnetized. And I have honored my cycle in the rest of the phases that now I have this very productive, I can do this, and that. And then my body's like, okay, we did it. Now we can rest. And so it's not that women are incapable of doing the things that men are able to do. It's just that we have to do them differently. And different doesn't mean weaker. And so we as a people, as the world, as society, the more that we begin to honor the way that the woman works instead of compare and with men and the way that they work in this way that allows them to just go, but even they need rest, right? But we'll talk about that another time. But to answer your question, I think that we have to, instead of trying to prove to them that we can do exactly what they can do, God did not design us to be that way, right? He designed us to be partners. And in that partnership, this is his role and it is powerful. And this is my role and it is powerful. And together we create the dynamic duo, that beautiful synchronicity that God designed man and woman to be. And so, again, to answer that question, it is that we have to shift our mindsets about what productivity really is in difference between the masculine and the feminine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Hearing what you said, it's like it's more of advantage to us to be in harmony with our cycles, and this is something that most of us we don't have any information about it, and it means that it is going to even help us to be more efficient and effective instead of getting burn out, and of course that can even discourage and what you're doing and the results that we are bringing on the table.
Yeah. And before you move on, let me add that it also benefits the man. It benefits them because they don't have to deal with so much PMS anymore, right? They also are able to benefit from the sweetness that comes from us being in harmony. We're not because we're not burned out, we're not resentful about the fact that we've had to push through and do all of these things while our bodies ache, while we feel exhausted, while we feel like nobody sees us, while we feel invisible in our struggles. Like we don't have that anymore. So now we're able to be very sweet and nurturing. The very thing that feminine energy is. It is when you see a feminine woman, she is excited, she's youthful, right? She's very soft, she's nurturing. All of those things rise to the top as powers, as superpowers. They are gifts that God gave us to nurture our families, to inspire our partners. They get to benefit from that. And there's nothing like it.
And of course, as you're going to benefit from it.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. And if there is one thing that you can educate people about, one thing, or one thing that you wish people would know about the cycle.
That's a hard question, girl, because it's so much. I love it. But if I had to say one thing, I would say that regardless of your religion, regardless of what you believe, this creation of a body was made perfect. It was made perfect. And so until we as the people begin to honor the perfect creation, then we will always be blaspheming God. And we will always be in a battle with ourselves and we'll never be able to connect with one another until we begin to acknowledge who we are as humans and our biological and genetic makeup. Then humanity will always be stifled. Because right now the world is in chaos because women have been ignored. We've had to be silent and shameful about our genetic makeup. And we've had to fight to prove that we are worthy. And so I would like to say that we are worthy. We are so worthy naturally, and the way that our bodies are made, it is to be worshipped by us, right? We need to honor our bodies. And once we do, the world has to follow suit.
Nice.
Yes.
Exciting. The last question that I have for you, we are very grateful to have you.
Thank you.
And in partnership with Sai Company and Thermopad, we've launched a platform called Repro Collective, where we believe when it comes to the issues of menstruation stigma and teenage pregnancies, it doesn't have to be only organizations or government or one individual. It has to be a collective effort. And this is where we encourage individuals to come and join the platform so that we can be able to be the change that we want to see in the community. And you are one of our we call it our local philanthropist, because when we talk about the word philanthropist itself, people start to think billionaires, people with a lot of money. They don't think that this can be someone in the community, someone who has a small shop. So that's the reason why we wanted to change that narrative, and then we'll be like, but why do we always, when we talk about philanthropists, we have to wait for people from outside of the country to change, to give the positive changes that we want to see when it's our own community, which means that it should in fact start with us. And you joined us to be our monthly contributor for Report Collective. What does it mean to you as a person? And what message do you have for other people who believe they can make a change or who are still waiting?
Yes.
Yeah.
To answer, I'll start from the end to the beginning.
Mhm.
Stop waiting. Donate now. No, seriously. It is so vitally important that the work that you guys are doing, in touring the space and seeing just how you're able to get children excited about their menstrual cycles, even the boys. It's just amazing. And it's so necessary for us to start young in understanding what's happening with our bodies and educating our children. And so what made me decide to donate is being in America, right? And seeing that nothing like this exists. Like maybe I can do more research, but I've been there 31 years and I've never heard anyone speaking about the cycle the way that you all have. And in addition to that, contributing what children need to support themselves during that time is so vitally important. And for me, it was a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, simply because children need education as soon as possible, and they need the support as soon as possible in order to ensure that the community stays whole and sound. And so I think that there is no better cause. There's no better cause than this, especially in the work that I do. And so for anyone who is on the fence, truly think about, because even for me, with my mom educating me about my cycle, the first time I bled, it was still a lot of shame. There was still a lot of shame. There was still a lot of fear, and there was still a lot of questions. And so here we have this company who is filling in all of those gaps. It's like, why not? This is necessary for our girls, the group of girls who are growing up next, for them to feel confident and to feel safe during their bleeds. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining Rupert Collective, and also thank you so much for sharing the knowledge.